What's going on, guys? I'm Zach from the Lumios Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon. And today, we are talking about the newest revealed Pokemon, which of course is a regional variant. We are talking about Paldean Diglett. What? It's clearly a regional form. What are you talking about? It's not. Wait. Okay, apparently I have to correct a little misstatement there. This is actually a new Pokemon called Wiglett. Yeah, it's very surprising. This new Pokemon is indeed a new Pokemon, not a Paldean form, which they even kind of talked about. At first we thought it was a regional form, but it's not. It's a brand new Pokemon called Wiglett. And obviously you can hear the similarities to Diglett in the name there. So let's talk about what exactly this Pokemon is. Well, we could be looking at two different things here, and that is mimicry and convergent evolution. So both of these things are possibilities for what exactly this Wiglett represents. But before we get into that, let's just talk about Wiglett itself. It clearly is inspired by a garden eel, which are those fun little eels you see at aquariums that are kind of like just poking out of the ground and just kind of swaying, living their best life. They're really cute, honestly. I love sea animals and garden eels. I mean, I think they're adorable. So I'm super happy to see that we finally have a garden eel Pokemon. And another eel Pokemon just in general is always welcome in my book. But yeah, that is exactly what Wiglett is. You know, that's kind of it. It's just a garden eel. There's no, like, you know, kind of intricacy into the designs. It's very simple, like Diglett. And on the note of it being like Diglett, we have to figure out exactly what this is, convergent evolution or mimicry. So let's talk about those. So first, we have mimicry. Mimicry is a common thing that animals use, or plants use even, to kind of look like one thing when they're not. Now, there's some really small examples of this, like, for example, some butterflies are really colorful because that makes them look poisonous, but they're actually not poisonous. They just are colorful to give the impression that they are poisonous so that a predator will see it and be like, yeah, I don't want to bite of that because that's probably poisonous. That's a more small scale version of mimicry. However, there are much larger scale versions of them. We have plants that look like bugs, bugs that look like plants, bugs that look like they have eyes on them, and just all kinds of different examples of animals or plants looking like another animal or plant to deter predators. I mean, it helps with camouflage, like especially with those little leaf bugs that you'll see that look just like little leaves. It helps them blend in with the leaf and also potentially deter others from eating it because it's just a leaf. It's not a bug. It's just a leaf. That's what it looks like, right? So this could be what Wiglett is. It could be mimicking Diglett. I mean, if we are to assume, because this thing is found at the beach and that it's an eel, if we're to assume that this thing's water type, we haven't gotten a official typing revealed yet, but if we assume this thing is water type, then it's weak to electric types, right? Well, by mimicking a ground type Pokemon like Diglett, this is kind of deterring electric type Pokemon from using electric type moves on it. So, say a Pikachu sees this thing, it might not use Thunderbolt because it thinks that's a Diglett. Thunderbolt's not going to work on this. Or, of course, it could be a larger example where perhaps there is a predator that really likes the taste of Wiglett, but probably doesn't like the taste of Diglett, because you have to think Wiglett would be an eel, which is a fish, and Diglett is a mole, which is a mammal. So this thing would see Wiglett and be like, you know, that's not my cup of tea. I don't like to eat moles, even though Wiglett is in fact an eel, not a mole. Now, this actually wouldn't be the first time we have seen mimicry in a Pokemon game. If you look at the Pokemon Crawdaunt, this is kind of the OG example. Crawdaunt actually has very similar appearance to Sharpedo, what with the blue coloring on its front and the star on the top of its head. Very similar to Sharpedo being blue and having that star on the top of its head. This is to kind of Crawdaunt's way of showing, hey, you know that really terrifying thing, Sharpedo? I'm just like that. You don't want to mess with me. We also have, in more recent gens, an example of it with Lurantis. Lurantis actually even has it in the name, Lurantis, Lure and Mantis. You see, Lurantis is a mantis pretending to be a flower. In fact, this Pokemon goes so far as to even have the grass typing like a plant. And so what it is it looks like a plant. It's all colorful and flower-like. It has the grass typing. It's safe. It's just a plant. So it lures you in, and then it stabs you with its little scythe hands, and it eats you. Because it's actually a mantis. That's the whole purpose of Lurantis. It's based off of an orchid mantis, real-life mimicry, and they just copy-pasted it into the Pokemon world with Lurantis mimicking plants, just like its real-world counterpart mimics plants. So mimicry is nothing new to the Pokemon world. It's been here since Gen 3. We've seen it happen since Gen 3. In fact, very recently, and only Gen 7. This is just potentially a much more obvious in-your-face example of mimicry. The other thing that this could be based off of is Convergent evolution. Obviously, we won't really know which of these it is until we kind of know more about Wiglet, see any potential evolutions, get more information on it in general. I mean, literally all we have on this guy is its picture and the fact that its name is Wiglet. So we're going to need more information to decipher which of these two it is, but Convergent evolution is indeed a possibility. Convergent evolution is when two species evolved from the same species, but they are completely different. So think about how humans and other primates like chimpanzees are said to come from the same common ancestor. This is Convergent evolution. One species over time became two different species. It evolved in two different ways. So it's very similar to regional forms, but a little bit different, because you have to think regional forms are a bit more like where you have dog breeds, and like there's a border collie and there's a Labrador. Those are two different dog breeds, but they are dogs. So that would kind of be like a real world example of a regional variant, is a border collie and a lab. But a dog and a fox, two canines, or a wolf, whatever, there's, several different canine species you can use here. Those are two different species, dogs and wolves. So that would be more Convergent evolution in line with what we could potentially be seeing with Wiglet here. So this would imply that Diglett and Wiglet had a common ancestor that over time became Diglett in some places and became Wiglet in some other places, but still kind of share some similar traits, as you can clearly see by the nose and the eyes and just the kind of general vibe of the Pokemon. They look very similar. They share similar traits even still from that common ancestor. This actually wouldn't be the first time we're seeing Convergent evolution in a Pokemon game. We've seen this with the Pika clones, for example. I mean, all of them have those little cheek pouches where they store electricity, right? Pikachu, Pachirisu, Emolga, etc., etc. They all are examples of Convergent evolutions. And one could even make the argument that there's even more examples of Convergent evolution in the Pokemon world. I mean, if any of you have seen Birdkeeper Toby's evolutionary tree, it's all in it there. But some things like perhaps Krabby and Cloth, that's probably an example of Convergent evolution. Or it can even be a little more diverse than that. Krabby and Corphish, maybe even Corphish and Parasect. There's so much more you can branch it. I guess it would be a little more likely Dwebble and Parasect, because they both still share the trait of the bug typing as well as the pinchers and all. But it is very interesting to think about Convergent evolution, how that, again, is nothing new to the Pokemon world, and this could be a more obvious, in-your-face example of it. And I'm very excited to see if they actually address that this is Convergent evolution or if it is mimicry. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think that these are examples of Convergent evolution, or do you think this is just a Pokemon mimicking another Pokemon? I'm super excited to see the fan debate on this, but obviously with debates comes passionate feelings, so let's try to keep it clean there and respect each other's opinions. Be sure to also respect this video by liking it, and respect the channel by subscribing and hitting the bell for notifications, because we do work hard here, and we're going to cover all the kinds of fun things we see from this game, just like Wiglet. We'll eventually do a competitive analysis on it when we get its abilities and typing, its official reveal and all. So yeah, you don't want to miss those videos. So again, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And until next time, I will see all of you guys later.